Well guys, Xbox is officially swooping in and trying to beat Valve at their own game, but is it too little too late? On top of that, I'm talking about GeForce Now coming to the Steam Deck, and finally there's a new dock that I think might be worth picking up. Because there's so many new viewers on the channel, I'm just gonna ask you to subscribe, set your notifications to all. Let's jump into the news because it's really exciting. So Xbox, they came up on stage with Lenovo and Valve and talked about their new future for how they see their hardware and software situation going. And if they play it right, I think it could work out really well for us Steam Deck users. So this is coming from Jason Ronald. He did a quick interview with The Verge. If you don't know who he is, he's a higher up at Xbox. He's been there for a long time. And now he's like the vice president of next gen experience or something like that. It doesn't really matter what his title is. The point is what he said is that they're working to, by the end of this year, have some version of the Xbox interface, the Xbox operating system that is releasable and installable for other handhelds out there. So a lot of people were assuming this would launch with the fabled Xbox handheld that they're working on very quickly over at Microsoft, but no, they're going to start with the software, build up to hardware, and whatever is released in between, that's just fine with them. Now, this is going to be, to put it lightly, difficult for them. I've seen a lot of reporting that's basically comparing them to Valve and what Valve is doing with SteamOS as if they're in the exact same position. And if you've been watching the channel for a while or you're tuned into the Steam Deck ecosystem, you know that is not the case in any way. The Steam Deck was announced over 2 years ago with SteamOS, and from the very beginning, Valve has said, we want to make this a thing that we can release on other platforms. So we're going to start with the Steam Deck, we're going to update it based on what people want, we're going to add in features, we're going to clean it up so that it works well, and then when it's done, we'll fully release it so that theoretically it could be installed on any gaming PC, whether it's a TV box, a laptop, a Steam Deck, an ROG Ally, a Legion Go S, put it on whatever you want. The point is for this to be a new operating system that can chip away at the dominance Windows has over the PC gaming world. So they've done that. They've really done a good job launching this in a good stable state at the very beginning, and then over the past 2 years or so, building it out in a really cool way to make it the ultimate PC gaming operating system with a great interface, great features, and just be awesome in the ways that people who play PC games on their Steam Decks actually want it to be. Whereas Microsoft has been building out two separate operating systems, right? Like Windows, it's been around forever. Every business uses it. It's pretty boring. Gamers don't like it, myself included, because it has a lot of bloat and causes a lot of problems with PC gaming, including my bane of my existence, which is stuttering in games. I can't tell you how many games I've played on my Steam Deck that seem like they run perfectly. Then I go over to my main gaming PC where I want the save to transfer to, and then I gotta around with NVIDIA control panel or RTSS and the settings and everything like that, despite having a 4090 laptop, because there's weird stuttering issues that are introduced, and it's always some stupid issue with Windows, right? Like they have that going on. And then they've also spent the better part of a couple decades building out the Xbox interface. It works pretty good. I have an Xbox Series X. I don't use it all that much, but when I'm on it, I think, hey, this is a good operating system. It has all the streaming apps. It plays games. It goes all the way back to the original Xbox. It has a web browser that's just straight up Microsoft Edge. There really isn't that much to complain about with the Xbox interface. And it seems like what their idea is to take those two things and merge them together. Kind of like how Steam OS is built on top of Linux, right? Like it's an interface that you use, but the real operating system is Linux. It seems like what Microsoft is doing is building an overlay of some sort, or maybe emulating the Xbox interface so that you'll be able to play your backwards compatible games. If it sounds confusing, it's because it is, because it seems like they don't really know what they want to do either. It seems like something they just came up with to kind of barnstorm this great thing that Valve has been doing because they're seeing it working. They understand the situation with the console war is that they lost, right? Like they didn't have enough sales in the Xbox One and PS4 generation. Everyone spent the 8 years or so of that gen building out huge libraries on the PlayStation Store, and they can't compete with that even with Game Pass. So they're kind of throwing in the towel there and saying, well, we couldn't take down Sony. Let's take the fight to Valve, because I'm sure the way they see it is that they have dominance in the PC space. But what I don't think they understand is how many people are kind of fed up and sick of the whole Windows 11 thing and are genuinely looking for something new. They just need to be shown it, and Valve has a great avenue to do so with the Steam Deck. And from what it seems like, a lot of people got into the Steam Deck ecosystem this Christmas. So yeah, Valve has done nothing but build up goodwill for the past couple of years, whereas Microsoft, I don't think that even their biggest fans are on board with them fully anymore like they have been throughout the past few generations. So they've got a pretty steep uphill battle that they're facing right now, and I personally hope they do it right. Now that might be shocking to hear from someone called Deck Ready, but there's a big reason for it. I think competition is good. If Xbox does manage to build out a very competitive operating system to what Valve is doing, Valve is going to get data from that. They're going to say, oh, Xbox has this thing called Quick Resume where you can save states for your games and have multiple states saved at any given time. So if you swap Indiana Jones with Halo Infinite, you'll be able to pick up right where you left off in either game. Valve sees that working on whatever this Xbox handheld turns out to be, then they invest time, energy, and resources into making that feature work on the Steam Deck. Or, Xbox looks at what Valve is doing and says, hey, it's cool that Valve allows other storefronts like the Epic Game Store to be installed on the Steam Deck, so we should have our new Xbox Windows operating system mashup baby thing work with everything, whether it's the Epic Game Store, the Xbox Store, or Steam itself, right? Like that competition kind of gives them ways to one-up each other over and over again until we have the best experience possible no matter what device we're playing on. And as for what device you should pick, I mean, obviously it comes down to your taste and your library, right? Like you don't necessarily need to have a huge Xbox library built up, but if you did spend the 360 generation buying digital games and you spent the Xbox One generation buying digital games and whatever part of the Series X generation buying digital games, you're probably going to want to use this Xbox ecosystem because you're going to be able to access all those games you've been building up in the background. But if you're like me, and I'd imagine most of the people watching this channel, you probably built up a massive Steam library over the past few decades or so, and you have a lot of games you want to be able to access on any device you have, which means you're probably going to want to install SteamOS on your Steam Deck or your PC. The point is, there does seem to be room in the world for both of these operating systems to kind of build up and flourish, which is great because it doesn't seem like that's the case in the console realm, and I don't want to see Xbox go away. I just think it's funny that, a lot of the Xbox reporters out there are suddenly noticing how great the experience is on Steam Deck, and they're like, oh, Microsoft's joining in on Steam with their new initiative, but it's not a new initiative. It's something they've spent multiple years building up to be something good, and that's a big competition point for Xbox, so I hope they understand that. But yeah, we have a very exciting future laid out in front of us. There's apparently new hardware coming, there's bigger updates for SteamOS, the full release of SteamOS, and Xbox is joining the fight against Valve. So, competition breeds good things for consumers. Really nothing to complain about there, Anyway, that brings me to the second news story here, which is that NVIDIA GeForce NOW is coming to the Steam Deck. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you're going to be shocked that I'm talking about this because I do not like cloud streaming tech. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting. I see the utility of it for like college students and weirdos who refuse to just buy a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally or an Xbox and want to use a $200 HP laptop to play their Xbox games or their Samsung TV or something. I don't know, but not necessarily the thing I'm most excited about. But out of all the streaming tech out there, I think GeForce NOW is genuinely the coolest. If you don't know what it is, which I'm sure you probably do, so I'll keep it quick, it just lets you stream games from a really powerful gaming PC that you can log into virtually and access stuff like Steam or the Epic Game Store. Unfortunately, not every game supports it, so just because you own a game on Steam doesn't mean you'll be able to stream it, but for the supported games, you can pay a pretty cheap monthly fee and stream from a 4080 equipped PC. You can use DLSS and ray tracing and everything like that and get a pretty solid game streaming experience over the air, over the internet, to whatever PC you're streaming from. Up until now, you've had to do this on the Steam Deck through third-party tools, which I'm sure work great, but NVIDIA announced that they're building out an official app for the Steam Deck so that you'll be able to connect to GeForce NOW directly from your Steam Deck and stream games to it. It's kind of like the ultimate version of the PlayStation Portal, and overall, it's pretty exciting because it shows that other companies like NVIDIA are noticing people using the Steam Deck and they're deciding to support it officially. Now, I'd like to see things like the Xbox app come over and Valve kind of work harder to get anti-cheat figured out and everything like that. But in the meantime, more platforms coming to the Steam Deck. That's nothing but a good thing. And that brings me to the third topic of today's video, which is a new dock from Razer of all companies. I know Razer gets a bad rap from a lot of people, but I've been a Razer gamer for a decade now and I've had nothing but great experiences. So this is going to shock shock you, the reason I love Razer products is because they're all black, and I think chroma is cool. I know people hate on RGB lighting. I like chroma. It's a little bit understated. You can set the brightness to whatever you want. It's got cool effects like making my keyboard look like a little campfire. What is there to complain about there? The biggest complaint people have, though, that I agree with is price, and that's where their new Steam Deck dock comes in, because it's actually competitively priced. So this thing is pretty cool. It packs in a lot of the same ports as the official Steam Deck dock, but it also folds up so that you can use it as either a USB-C hub or, you know, portably throw it in your bag and it won't take up a ton of space, and the price is only $80. It looks like it's built out of aluminum too, unlike the official Steam Deck dock, and the reason I think it might be worth picking up is because the official Steam Deck dock is not a great product. It seems cool and awesome, but if you actually use it like a hub where you keep your keyboard, monitor, and mouse plugged into it, and then you can hot swap between your gaming PC and your Steam Deck, you'll quickly realize that it has massive problems when it switches between multiple devices. It also drops out all the time, which is bad, and when you have to update the firmware, all that stuff you want to leave plugged into it has to be unplugged except for the power cord, and even then, I'd say about 5 times out of 10, it actually installs the firmware on the first try. Valve also broke it for me with the 3.6 beta. I don't know what the deal was there, but it's just not really working out as intended. I don't care all that much because I really don't use it all that much. I replaced it with a USB-C dock from Razer that's been working excellently for me, but if you're in the market, like you just got a brand new Steam Deck for a dock and you saw the crazy price on the official Steam Deck dock, I think this is a safe recommendation because as someone who uses a lot of Razer products, I've never really been let down by them in any way. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.